It's Spoilerin time. This is the associated show to Cordkillers. On Cordkillers, we talk about the world of television and what's happening and what can you watch. And then here we talk about the things we've been watching. This week, we will talk about the season finale of Silo, Season 1, Episode 10, Righteous Gemstones, Season 3, Episode 4, and Secret Invasion, Episode 2. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Heck yeah, dude. Where are we diving in first?
Let's start at the end with Silo, Season 1, Episode 10. I thought some things were a little too easy in this episode. Jennifer Nichols, is that right?
Juliet Nichols.
I was like, Jennifer doesn't sound right. Nichols, Sheriff Nichols. I thought she gave in a little too easy. I thought she made the deal a little too easy. Well, but it is all worth the payoff.
She has been consistent in stating in private conversations that the only reason she's doing anything is to find out what happened to her boyfriend, George. So I also thought, like, well, whatever she must have seen must have been so awesome that, you know, she's willing to go kill herself. But then it turns out, nope, she just finally found out what happened to George. And that's all she wanted. Yeah. And she gave no F words.
On the other hand, I thought it was wonderfully subtle that this little piece that they've been teasing, you got in trouble for stealing the heat tape. Well, why did you steal the heat tape? And well, her heat tape is better than their heat tape anyway. Maybe their heat tape is bad on purpose. Wait, maybe it is. And then we strung that along until this episode.
Are you playing along, Bryce, or did you just have a moment?
It took me. You know what? Tom put I had all the pieces, but Tom put them together for me.
Right, and then you see them putting on the heat tape, and you're like, oh, they're using the good heat tape, which they never use. They always use the bad heat tape. And that makes all the difference in her being able to survive. It turns out the other people literally did die, but not because the air was poisoned, because they were poisoned by the heat tape not working properly, whereas Sheriff Nichols is properly protected. The world outside is bad, it is dangerous, and it's full of other silos.
Well, and that's real quick on the heat tape thing. They did a pretty good job of making the heat, I don't know, around episode 6 or whatever. I'm like, why are you still talking about the heat tape? They referenced it enough times. And in this episode in particular, we see some box coming up with official tape, swap, some kind of heist thing or whatever. We knew the tape was significant. I had been operating under the theory that just the entire costume was filled with poison gas, and that's why everybody died.
I've been wondering at that too. Yeah,
but it's smarter than that. It's even more it's not there's a poison capsule. They just don't wrap it up all the way, and eventually it
protects you long enough to clean, but that's it.
And also there's a specific note that says, what is it? Supplies in maintenance are good. Which in and of itself didn't mean anything, but suddenly means something when you see the heat tape go on or whatever. But I gotta tell you, I really dug the meta shifting. No one specific thing changed, except for I'm kind of back on believing in Shawshank Redemption IT guy, his heart being in the right place. Because they clearly show us that there is no outside, and there is nothing to hide. And it's like, well, then why would you deceive people and make it seem like there might be? And then you realize, again, they very gently brought up, and what's up with that door at the bottom? And then that final image very effectively spells out the reality of, no, upstairs is still screwed, but if you're going to run your silo, you want all the attention on upstairs, and you don't want anybody trying to open the door downstairs, because downstairs, if other silos have opened their doors, it must be absolute mayhem and war, total anarchy, factions destroying each other. The best you can hope for if you open that door downstairs is to be raided, killed, raped, and murdered. Or at least that's what I'm projecting onto it at this point. I really enjoyed this whole season. I dig it. I like the fact that I'm on the hook, that I don't know motivations of everyone. In fact, until you said so just now, Tom, it had not occurred to me. I figured Juliet was just going to walk off into the sunset, at least poke around a bit before she died and send a message by not cleaning the sensor. But now I'm wondering, there's no reason that she couldn't, I don't know, encounter a band of people from some other silo that did open up the door and did.
She goes to the other cameras. Go to the other cameras and then reach out to all the other silos
and clean them off.
Okay,
right?
you know
what are there silos that don't have a problem with people going outside?
Suddenly the world just got very big, and I very much loved it. It was great.
Yeah, I loved that moment. This is a small moment where she talks about the door, and the mayor, Tim Robbins' character, just doesn't react, which was brilliant, because you're like, is he not reacting because he doesn't want to give anything away? Is he not reacting because he doesn't know about the door, or doesn't know what's up with the door, or is worried that because she knows the door is not safe anymore? It could be any of those. So I loved that versus him having a reaction. It was the perfect moment for a non-reaction that you can paint anything on and it will still make sense in the future.
I'm going to hand the mic to you, Bryce, but as my last thought, I now firmly believe that whether he is informed correctly or not, all of a sudden I'm thinking there's a possibility that there's a network of communication between the silos, that he knows what's on the other side. But whatever it is, IT Shawshank definitely is terrified of opening the downstairs door, which is why he's a big fan of making a big deal about what's upstairs.
Yeah.
Presumably all of that water is connected, right? I mean, they make it a point earlier in the season to say there's a door down there for all the steam, right? That's how they get the steam in for the power generator. Well, that doesn't just come out of nowhere. And if we know that we saw Juliet this episode run use the trash chutes as a way to get through the silo, I bet she gets back in. I bet that's how she gets back in. Maybe she finds a source of water. I've been looking through all the silos, and now I'm the season 4 hero, Juliet Nichols. I don't know. I don't know if I want to watch the show that's inside the silo or outside the silo. Probably outside, but they're not going to give you that show. They're going to keep us inside, I bet.
I mean, I wouldn't mind if next season begins at just some other silo, and we almost forget the story of this silo.
Oh.
Now, those of you who have continued to read the books can be laughing at us, and that's fine. I never read past Wool.
Oh,
which is
me neither.
Really stupid of me, because it's a great story and I wanted to keep reading, but I got distracted. So I don't know what's going to happen next season.
Derek wrote us a wonderful email saying that that an awful lot of what we're seeing in this television show is implied in the back history of Wool. So I feel less bad for not remembering so much of what's happening outside of the aesthetic of the world that they're in.
All right. That is Silo, the finale, season 1.
Before we sign off, are we all in on season 2?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. All right. Let's talk Righteous Gemstones, season 3, episode 4. I knew something was up when we had a happy ending last episode where they're like, thanks, cousins. We love you. I was like, all right, what is this setting up? And it turned out what it was setting up is that the cousins are double crossing the Gemstones while seeming to enjoy being friendly with them too. Like they just don't have a problem with delivering fertilizer to dear old dad.
So season 1 turned out to be a heist, and it turned out that the hero was the prodigal son, or the bad guy was the prodigal son, Gideon. By the way, it is so fun to watch it with my kids who came in on season 3, where the episode that they saw was Gideon, with an injury, protecting Eli and doing awesome stuntman stuff or whatever. So they went in, clearly this guy is the awesome guy. Then to go back and start at the beginning and see him as kind of a weak side character or whatever, and then see him end season 1 going to Haiti without any reward or asking for any glory, just to help out, and then season 2 to see his redemptive arc. And now in season 3, it is so abundantly clear that none of the 3 gemstones, the younger, are going to inherit the throne. It's going to be Gideon, because he's the one actually living the redemptive arc experience. But just as season 1 was a heist, season 2 was a whodunit, season 3 is a spy movie. It's about somebody undercover who goes too deep, or those 2 cousins are going to go too deep. They're going to find themselves too emotionally invested with the gemstones, and hopefully, fingers crossed, betray their father and his obvious Oklahoma City bombing plot that he's working on.
Also, why are they blowing up gophers? Because it feels like that would bring more suspicion on them, unless they had to test stuff.
You get them used to explosions, and then they're like, oh, they're doing the gophers. Oh, they're getting gophers.
But then they delivered the fertilizer to dear old dad. Maybe it's not fertilizer. Maybe it's already turned into explosives in those.
If I were to guess,
they were just testing to make sure they had the.
If I were to guess, they were genuinely trying to help in the way they knew how to do so.
I think they were. I mean, maybe they were helping as a side benefit, but that was directly related to what we're really doing is making explosives for dad. You don't think?
I think they. I don't know. I would like to believe that their character arcs are a little more complicated than that. I don't give them enough credit to be testing stuff out in that way. But now that you say it, I could be talked into it.
We also have the stalking of the daughter's husband.
Oh, with
BJ.
pickleball, complete with pickleball.
Yeah, the pickleball stalking. Yeah.
One of the things I adore about this show is when you see it from the when you see it at first, stuff seems really bad, but then when you back away, it's like, oh yeah, no, that's forgivable. Like, for example, going back to the very first episode, it's like, someone had their top off and was doing cocaine, and Jesse did some cocaine, so he owns it by the end of the first season, and that's the end of it, and then I guess there were murders in season 2, but now we're at the place.
I mean, I guess there were murders, but if you can overlook that,
Judy's crimes seem very softball, but she is freaking out over them rather than just having an honest conversation with BJ. And I think that's part of what makes it so delicious and funny.
Yeah. And then of course we have Keef. Poor Keef. I thought that the raids were setting us up for something different than Keef being the parents being uncomfortable having Keef as an assistant youth pastor. That's sad.
All I know is that my children, every time Keef shows up, they all go, Keef! He's clearly too beloved for anything truly terrible to happen. I suspect that everything will be made right. Yes, I think Keef will be all right, but yes, we're going to be made.
It was funny seeing Calvin try to keep Keef around. Like, you don't have to leave. We can get you another job. Like, all of this stuff, and Keef Keef kind of got it. What Calvin didn't want to say, but everyone else wanted Calvin to say, which is, you got to get gone.
Calvin,
Calvin, whatever. Yeah, that's anyway. It's really sad because they're just stupid. Like, it's a stupid idea, and he's taking the blame for it. This innocent, this kind of innocent guy.
Yeah. I think we're in for Keef character growth here. He's going to be out in the wilderness, learning and growing and becoming stronger.
Yeah, I think we'll be pained. We'll see him leave, and either this season or next, we'll be happy to have him back. Is what I would guess.
What if he hunts? Yep. I bet so he's like out in the woods in the green space, and he's using those sex toys to like hunt rabbits or something. And so there's like a montage of him.
I could totally see that.
Well, that would be funny.
You know what he's bound to find in the woods, don't you?
Dirt.
Gemstones?
Those Montgomerys.
Oh, because they do need to find a new place to go after they got raided, huh?
Oh, wait. So we're going to have a double undercover operation. He's going to go out into the woods.
Might join the Montgomerys.
He's going to join the Montgomerys, but his heart will remain true to the Gemstones. He's going to uncover the plot. Oh, that's exactly what it's got to be. Oh, that's good, Tom.
Yeah, that's got to be it.
We should write for this show.
Well, and knowing this show, that'll just be next week, and then they'll like end.
Right? Yeah. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yeah. Any other thoughts on Righteous Gemstones?
No, it's just maybe one of the greatest shows ever. It's so good.
That is Righteous Gemstones, season 3, episode 4. Let's talk about Secret Invasion, episode 2. This is where we see the true nature of the scroll and of the relationship with the daughter and all of that. Brian, did this start to fit your perspective on scroll relations better?
I mean, if by my perspective you mean the canonical original comic books that are the one true story, yes, it did. I never trusted scrolls. I always thought an alignment with them was a bad idea. I never understood why the MCU is trying to portray them as good guys, because they're not.
We get it. You're not fooled. You're not going to get it.
Actually, there is a little bit of that in there too.
Well, you have to lie if you have to fool people about this. If you know math, you know.
And so basically we're led to believe that Talos is the only good scroll, right?
Well,
or in his family anyway.
If what I'm imagining is, so you have a data. What an economist thing to say. You have a data set of 1 million scrolls, and if we've only encountered 14 of them, and about 3 of them have been good, then I'd say that's representative of a fifth column faction that understands that what they want to do is a bad thing.
We did get the one scroll in that meeting who was like, "I'm not part of your thing. I'm leaving," and then they let her leave, seemingly. She didn't get murked after that, did she? I guess I wasn't paying attention.
We don't know.
No, she did not, although I would be not surprised if there's a target on her. But meanwhile, you also had the weak guy who said that he wasn't down for it and then went for it.
Yeah.
It's good to see Shooter McGavin back. That's all I'm mostly concerned with.
What about the Nick Fury storyline? The sort of like you're too wild, you're too old, Nick Fury. I'm Rhodey, and I'm fighting for the real world over here. Nick.
I'm gonna withhold judgment because I don't know if that whole scene was a fake out. First of all, it would be out of character for Nick Fury to call Rhodey and say, just drop a nuke on him. Who cares? Like that doesn't sound like Nick Fury. But also, It was pretty weird the way Rhodey was like brought in racial politics and say, oh, just because we look the same, you don't. I don't want to. I took very little of that conversation at face value, but it was fascinating that they even brought up that idea that, like, this episode begins with Nick Fury talking about things his mama said, and he adopts a Southern patois while he talks about it, and then later asks for privileged favor with a government decision from Rhodey based on the fact that the two look alike. and Rhodey pushes back, I'm really curious how much of that was sincere and how much of that is one or the other of them turns out to be a Skrull.
All I will say is that parts of that conversation that you are saying seemed odd, I have heard in real life. So I don't know who wrote this episode, and I don't know if it's meant to be out of character for Rhodey to be like that, but I also found the sentiments reflected in reality.
I agree, which is why I don't know, like, what I don't want to do is be the sucker here and either and weigh in on that conversation before I find out whether or not one or both of them were Skrulls.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is that's a real conversation that people have.
I agree.
So it's not weird that a conversation like that happened, but I think you're not wrong to say, but given what I know of Nick Fury and Rhodey, it didn't seem like a conversation I expected them to necessarily have. Maybe I don't know enough, or maybe they're Skrulls, right? It could be either one.
Yeah, but I will say I was riveted. Unlike most of the first episode, the second episode, I disclosed that I only half paid attention to the first episode. Second episode, I was riveted the entire time. There was really something here.
Yeah, and it was the second episode that I watched early that made me say, you know what? I think there's something good here, because I'd say about first half or so of the first episode, I was a little bored, and maybe only the first third of this episode, oversimplifying in both cases, I was a little bored, but I like where they took the story in each of them, and I liked it even better in episode 2. And there's 6 episodes, so after this week, we'll be halfway through the story.
Bryce.
I like Samuel L. Jackson a lot. I think he is putting a little spice on it that a lot of these other Marvel, especially the greener faces to these Marvel shows,
they're Skrulls.
Okay, stupid, dumb. But you got me. But I think he brings something special to it, and you know what? For like a another globe-trotting action thriller, like, this is better than even some of the other Marvel ones so far. So I'm on board.
It's light years ahead of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Like, I dig it. I hope it doesn't get too complicated, because I think I like the conflict that we've got now. Fury, you didn't keep your word, so we're taking over, and I like that. I don't know. I'm excited that there's only like 6 episodes. Because I don't want it to be long. I don't want it to be overly long.
Put that on.
You think it would be dragging it out too
I'm
much?
excited. There's only 6 more episodes.
That's going in the pull quote on the movie poster. Secret Invasion. I'm excited. There's only 6 episodes.
I'm savoring it. I could savor. No, that's not true either. But it's fun. You know what? It's good. It's good, right? Like, I don't know. I think they're not trying to push.
Everyone in chat right now disagrees with this. They all hate it. So, your mileage may vary out there if you're listening. But yeah, I like it too. So there you go. That is Secret Invasion episode 2. Next week, we will talk about Secret Invasion episode 3, Righteous Gemstones, season 3, episode 5, and get back to Miami Vice as we watch Rising Son of Death, the return of Sheena Easton. It's not exactly a 2-parter, but it is continuing her as a character, as well as Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa, who you may remember from Man in the High Castle in an early appearance by him. So that is Miami Vice, season 4, episode 9, Rising Son of Death, Righteous Gemstones, season 3, episode 5, and Secret Invasion 3. That is Spoilerin time. You get these episodes packaged up nicely, and you get them early if you're a patron. So become one of the lucky 7 that keeps us alive. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. You'll get Spoilerin time early. You'll get After Talk, and you'll get the satisfaction of knowing that you saved the world. All of that, Patreon.com/Cordkillers. We will spoil you again next week.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.